This week, I'm only reading books on my public library shelves.
Remember when you were a kid and your parents brought you to the library during the summer and they'd let you pick out a few books to take home? There was that magical feeling of going through the shelves, not knowing what different adventure you'd go on next in a book just waiting to be found. And it's free, which is always a win in my book. Unfortunately, summer is almost over, but I want to see if we can get a piece of that summer reading magic one last time by only reading books off my public library shelves. So let me show you what I got.
Book club time! The best time of all the time. This is what we got. Not even sure you can see them because libraries exclusively have shiny covers. I got 5 books, which is definitely more than I'll read in a week, but this way we have some options. The first one I picked up was Defend the Dawn. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce any of these authors' names. I read the first one a while ago and I really liked the first one, and then I started this one immediately after, and when I got into it I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, so I didn't, but I picked it up, try and finish it. Then I got The Queen's Assassin. I am really interested in reading this book. I don't even know how I found it. I think this is, I don't know. That's number 2. Then they had a whole section actually on Megan Miranda books. So I got The Only Survivor. I've tried to read one of her books before and DNF'd it. I was like 100 pages in and nothing had happened. Then we have A Deadly Education. I've actually read one other book by this author and I didn't like it. This one has a more interesting premise. Stephanie Garber actually has a blurb on the back of this book and I love all of Stephanie Garber's books. And the last one is The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. I was so surprised that they had this, honestly. I actually looked this up if they had it at the library like 2 days ago and they said no, and there's a bunch of holds on them because this book just came out. So I was like, oh dang, okay, well I'll just read it at a later time. And then in the library they had a section for like new books, tiny little bookshelf, and this was on there. Trust of the Emerald Sea is part of the collection that this book came out with. They're not connected or anything, they all kind of came out at the same time, and I loved that book. I'm super excited. I was also surprised at the like range of books they had there. They had a whole they had a whole Hildebrand section. Megan Miranda had her own section. Of course, it wouldn't be a library without a giant James Patterson section. I was pleasantly surprised of what they had, and I'm really excited about all the books that I picked out. I think I'm gonna start with A Deadly Education. It just seems interesting. I don't know. I know the least about this book. Well, that's not true. I know the least about these 2 books, but I think I'm gonna start with this one. I have seen it on Goodreads and just liked the cover. They're all in a school and the school's trying to kill them. So we'll see how this one goes. Finished A Deadly Education. I definitely like this one better than the other book I read from this author. It was still kind of weird and different style-wise, but I still found that really refreshing. So the book is basically about kids who have magical abilities who get sent to the school to learn magic. But the kicker is the school's basically a death trap. It's full of monsters that are constantly trying to kill them. So much so that only like 50% of their grade or their class actually gets out of the school and graduates. The other 50% get eaten by the monsters. So you follow the main protagonist Elle as she kind of navigates that, tries to survive basically. I don't know the word, but there's just a certain feeling you get with school settings and books, and you get that from this book. The one thing I will say is the author will go on like rants about the school or how the world works, that kind of stuff, which I like the detail and I like how thought out it was, but I had many moments where I was reading and I was like, okay, let's get back to the plot. Like nothing has happened in 3 pages and I'm losing focus. Overall, I liked it. I think I'd give it a 3.75 and I'll definitely be picking up the second one. I think for my next book, I'm gonna read the thriller book that I picked up, The Only Survivors. I just feel like reading something where I can turn my brain off and not think very hard. Whereas all the rest of these are fantasy books and I don't really feel like getting into that right now and thinking. finished The Only Survivor. In one word, It just really was not thrilling at all. I've got a cat outside, my dog keeps growling at. The whole premise of the book of like why it's thrilling is something that happened in the past that you don't figure out what it is till halfway through the book, and then you don't completely figure out what it is till the end of the book, obviously. So like I was on page 100 and I was like, nothing's happened. The only thing that kept me reading was that you just want to figure out what that thing is that keep getting referenced to. Yeah, they try to have something that goes on like present time that's supposed to be kind of scary or like you don't know what's happening, but it's just not that scary. So 2.5, not my favorite. I haven't got a lot of thrillers that I like, honestly. I think I read 2 Riley Sager books that I really liked, but then I didn't really like the ending. The other book that I read by her, well, I tried to read by her, basically the same thing happened. I got halfway through the book and I was like, nothing has happened yet. Why? I just read 150 pages for what? Kind of a waste of my time. Not my favorite. You're between The Sunlit Man, The Queen's Assassin, and Defend the Dawn. I honestly don't feel like reading this one, partly because it's the biggest one. Honestly, I'm between The Queen's Assassin and The Sunlit Man. I'm kind of torn because this is just a one-off book, so I don't have to read the next one if I just read this one right now. But this one feels more intriguing to me at the moment. Maybe I just need to read the back of this book. I think I'm gonna go with this one.
Hello there.
All right, update time. Remember that time when I said this was like standalone and didn't have to read anything before it? Yeah, that was a lie. You definitely did. I just found out. Turns out there's like 3 other books you should have read before this one for it to like make sense. Did a quick little Google search, found that out after I was 100 pages in. So we'll be DNFing this book for now. I will get back to it. Instead of that one, we're gonna read The Queen's Assassin for now, which I wanted to read anyways, so I guess just kind of made the decision for me. So yeah, Queen's Assassin. I just want to like demolish the book. I want to go through fast and just like get it done this weekend. Assassin. It was really hard to get through. I feel like I would have liked this book if I was 13. Then it would have been like, oh, it's so good. The love story's so cute. But it's not. Honestly, there wasn't really any scenes to build the chemistry, so I just didn't really care about their love story. I didn't feel like it was well written. I didn't really like the characters. So we ended up getting to the end of the story and was like, oh, this is how all these things happened, by the way, instead of integrating it throughout the story as we went. It felt like maybe the author wasn't sure how to get from point A to point B. They just kind of dumped out the explanation at the end. So 2 stars, not my favorite. I honestly would have DNF'd this book if I wasn't sick and needed a book to read. So to tally it all up, this week we had a 3-star, a 2-star, a soft DNF, I will get back to this book, and then another 2-star. Even though I may have not had the best reading week rating wise, that's just the beauty of getting books from the library. You just don't know what you're gonna get. It's a fun way of finding things that you wouldn't expect to find. Like, I can't really stop thinking about this book. It keeps popping up in my head, and I never would have picked up another book from this author if it wasn't just there on the shelf. Because eventually, you'll find a 5-star that you didn't even know existed. I've actually already started reading for my next video. I'm reading a certain type of book for the week, and I've actually been leaving clues throughout this video of what that type of book is. So comment what you think it is, and we'll see if you're right. And if that type of video sounds like something you'd be interested in, then come back next week. Bye!